Hello, poor unfortunate souls. At least that's what I would be saying if you weren't attending my contract seminar, because you're all very lucky individuals. It's always a nice thing to learn from a master. Okay, now, this is not my usual grotto, of course. This is a temporary accommodation for the event, so we'll all need to squeeze in. Yes, there wasn't any doubt that this event would be one of the most popular at the convention, so we really had to limit spots. You there in the back, with the red hat, could you be so kind as to leave? I don't like the way you're looking at my seashell collection on the wall there. Yes. Sticky fingers. For the rest of you, please have a seat and make yourself as comfortable as possible. This won't take very long because I have places to be and people to see, so... And also, if the climate in here is a bit damp and musty, there's nothing I can do about it, and you're just going to have to live with it, aren't you? All right, so, what is this about again? Oh, contracts. Now, contracts are a necessary tool, but they're also the bane of my existence. We have sort of a love-hate relationship, contracts and I. So, I'm just going to give you some pointers that you can use in your daily dark magical practices. Yes. Alright. Okay, you in the back there. Yes, with the lavender scarf. I need you to leave as well. Well, my eels are here with me, as my companions, as my guests, and if they're bothering you, then that's your problem and not mine, or theirs for that matter. So please, yes, you can go on to another event. There are plenty to choose from, but none as good as this, of course. Anyway, now that we have the riffraff out of here, let's get down to business, shall we? And that's what contract crafting is, really fundamentally, it's all a matter of business and negotiation. Now, if you'll all refer to the little sample contract I have provided for all of you. Well, I haven't provided it. I don't have time for that sort of thing, but the event organizer has. As you can see, this is a perfect example of how a contract should be formulated. It has the person's name here at the top, their legal name, not a nickname. And their full name. For example, not just Ariel. It has to have her full legal name and middle name. Right? Now, I'm using this as a for instance, We all know how things went a bit south with that contract, but you learn from mistakes, and that's another tip I'd like to give you. If, things go wayward, and you don't get the outcome you quite expected, you learn from it. Lessons have been learned. So, then you'll notice the contract is relatively short, and you want to be to the point. Use very, very clear language. No technical jargon, okay? But be specific. I always like to have 3 lawyers look at my contracts now. Once again, lessons have been learned, and they'll review it and give me some revision notes, and I really appreciate their input. Well, I pay them a tidy sum, so they better provide me with input. So, let's see here. Now, you'll notice the terms that I have for this contract. Now, you need to be very particular about what both parties receive out of the deal. For instance, if someone gets to venture on land, this is a hypothetical, of course, and gets legs in exchange for their mermaid tail, but I take their voice, then it needs to be made clear that this is irrevocable, and I will have their voice for all of eternity, pretty much. And you must also outline what happens if this contract is breached. And a certain term, usually it's a length of time that you feel comfortable with. For example, if you only want to borrow the voice for 5 years, then state that in the contract. Make sure both parties agree to the conditions. Right. Now, the signature down here needs to be clear, and both entities should sign the contract. Oh, yes, that's a good question, you in the back. I like you. Not very much, but you'll do. Anyway, always get it notarized. Yes. So, now that we've gone over the language you should use and the length, things of that sort, let's go over the materials you need for a contract. Now, I find that parchment is a very good, my primary media for contract writing. However, sometimes I like to use cocktail napkins. If I'm in a pinch, I'll even use a little sheath of seaweed. That's a little difficult, though, because even enchanted pens with enchanted ink don't seem to quite stick properly. But if it's a short-term contract, it'll do. Now, I'm partial to squid ink for obvious reasons, but you can also use the traditional quill and normal ink if you prefer. It's rather mundane, but, when you're in a bind, just use whatever you have handy. Now, another thing I would like to cover is the sort of negotiation process of the contract itself. Now, usually the other party will try to, give you the short end of the stick. Let's just put it that way. Let's be blunt about it, okay? And you really need to fight for what you want out of the contract, but that requires knowing exactly what you're aiming for. A good example of this is, say like you want to, I'm going back to that same example, take someone's voice, all right? But that is your ultimate goal, but you don't let them know that that's what the ultimate goal is. There is some trickery and mind games involved, but that's part of the fun, isn't it? So you can go 2 different ways. You can either exaggerate what you want, do something very extreme, say like you want their soul. Or you can say something of a lesser degree, something smaller. For instance, you can say, I want to, I'm trying to think here. I don't go for less usually, so it's a bit difficult. How about, I want your designer handbag. Yes, that's a good one. I love a good handbag, especially if it's waterproof. But that's a good example of asking for something a little less if you want something much more. Now, inevitably, if the contract is meant to be, and it's always meant to be, if it's what you have your heart set on, you will be able to meet somewhere in the middle. Is that making sense to everyone? You are intelligent people here, correct? Oh, good. I had my worries. for attending this seminar, I'm going to give you all a signed copy of my guidebook. Yes, Contract Crafting for Newbies. The Enchanted Edition, of course. It is going to be a collector's item, I can assure you. So, yes. Keep it close by. It has some handy tips in there for the next time you're drawing up any sort of agreement. I also have a section in there for curse crafting. Oh yes, I know Maleficent was chosen for that workshop this year, but what can you do? She has seniority, poor old thing. Anyway, I will send you all home with a copy of this, and I'll only charge you a measly 5 gold pieces. It's a steal, really, it is. Well, it's a sort of surcharge, you see. Yes. Anyway, the last thing I'd like to talk about in this fabulous seminar I've been hosting for all of you lucky, lucky people is that a contract is not official until it's been given some sort of magical touch. All right. Now, a lot of people forget that, and even a human contract must have some magical quality to it. You see, I like to imbue mine with raccoon tears and a little dash, just a little dash of shrimp scampi sauce. No, not shrimp scampi, I'm not into that. But the sauce, it is so delightful, isn't it? I like to put it on my algae salads quite often. And that's actually how I discovered it. I was eating a salad and a drop of the dressing accidentally fell on the contract, and that contract was the best agreement I had ever made, and it still holds true to this day. Yes. Well, let's just say a certain someone is in power, and I'm in possession of their vocal attributes. Operatic, yes. Simply magnificent, and it was worth all of the enchanting that I had to put into that one. It was a doozy. Anyway, enough about that. But the bottom line is, you really need to make sure that your magic is on point when you're crafting this contract. It can't be an off day. It cannot be an off day, because things will go horribly awry, I can assure you. So, are there any questions out there? Not that I really want to answer them, but I feel like I'm obligated because it's part of the, the package. They've paid me handsomely for this. Oh, yes, you there in the back. Okay. All right. No. It doesn't matter which hand or tentacle you sign the contract with. That's a rather odd question, I must say. All right. Does anybody have a more intelligent question for me? Yes. Oh, yes, you. Okay, yes, with the odd shoes. What are those? Sneakers? All right. All right, to each his own. So, what is your question? Well, I know. I would never involve an exchange of money in a contract. Perish the thought. Oh, my goodness. No, it's all about more valuable assets that the person can provide to you. Yes. Something that they hold truly dear. That's part of the fun of it, isn't it? All right, I see a few more of you have your hands up for questions, but I really don't have the patience for this. and I think I've already done my part, and then some. So, I'm going to bid you adieu, and please leave my grotto as quickly as possible. I do think it's time for me to get some beauty rest and possibly have a little nibble. All right.